Please be aware that this video has been created solely for safety, education, and harm reduction. The video creators do not promote the use of either legal or illegal compounds. Instead, we promote safety through educating people on both the pros and the cons of these substances from a place of love, and hopefully from a standing of being unbiased. Thank you. Materials needed. A ticket to a country where DMT-containing plants are legal. A legal DMT-containing plant. A legal harmala-containing plant. A scale. A pot of water. An active internet connection to Google the specific recipe, since this is YouTube and I do not condone that anyone watching tries this. And finally, a trip sitter who's preferably bigger than you are in case you accidental or unintentionally attempt harming yourself and others, or access to a padded room with a straitjacket. Alternatively, you can ignore this entire list and find a reputable shaman to experience ayahuasca traditionally in the jungles of Peru, Ecuador, or Brazil and Colombia. Step 1. Prepare your mind. Grab a pencil and paper to answer the following quick questionnaire. What are your expectations? What is the #1 thing you hope to gain from this experience? Are you prepared to accept the good with the bad as a packaged deal? And if you are wanting to consume ayahuasca traditionally as a medicine to heal trauma, then do you fully understand that true healing doesn't really look like healing, not in the early stages? Instead, it feels closer to pain because things usually do get worse before they get better. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is going into this experience with high expectations. I promise you, if you've personally never tried a psychedelic like ayahuasca before, which is insanely intense, then you're more than likely gonna be disappointed. It's not gonna be what you anticipate it's gonna be. This substance has the innate ability to bring on feelings of bliss and euphoria, but it also can bring on feelings of terror and pain, and often both of these occur within the same experience. Not to mention that you, the experiencee, does not get to choose which type of trip they're going to have. So, before you choose to consume a substance like ayahuasca, you need to be both mentally and, well, also physically prepared for any outcome that it delivers. And this is precisely where I come in, because the best strategy for a healthy and hopefully pleasurable maybe experience is through proper preparation and learning and education. To start things off, I would advise anyone who's interested in consuming ayahuasca to begin a daily meditation habit if you don't do so already. Learning the discipline to avoid instant gratification and stimulation and just spend some time alone every day within the realms of the chaos of your own mind can be a very powerful advantage or tool to use during psychedelic experiences. This is because meditation shows you how to observe your own thoughts without clinging to every single little thing that passes through your head and reacting emotionally to it. However, if you are currently afraid of your own thoughts or the prospect of sitting alone for just 10 minutes a day without any distractions with your eyes closed in silence, well, if that terrifies you or you simply can't do it, then ayahuasca is simply going to tear you to shreds. You will be forced to face all of that shit and that darkness that you've kind of been bottled up inside and that could be responsible for you not enjoying your life right now. And when I say forced, I mean as if somebody's holding your head, your eyes have been stapled open, and they are just feeding that shit through you. And this, arguably, can be a good thing, assuming that you have properly prepared for the experience. And again, my job with this video is to help you prepare, so let's get on with getting prepared. Step 2. Prepare your body. Are you prepared to cease, say, any current medications that you may be taking for a minimum of 2 weeks prior to trying ayahuasca, simply because of the fact of combining antidepressants or even ADHD-type stimulants with ayahuasca with MAOIs can be fatal, it can kill you. This includes SSRIs, SNRIs, NDRIs, TCAs, as well as amphetamine salts, dextroamphetamine, lisdexamphetamine, methamphetamine, methylphenidate, RCAs like 4-FA, 3-FPM, and hundreds of more stimulant drugs. Certain foods must also be avoided, especially those high in tyramine. This is because harmalas inhibit MAOA, the most important MAO for metabolizing tyramine, which, in high amounts, can be potentially fatal. High tyramine foods include anything that's aged, cured, pickled, or fermented. Check out the video description for a complete list of all foods which must be avoided. Now, it is a myth that you must avoid things that are high in sugar or salts or fatty prior to drinking ayahuasca. This is just traditionally what they did. However, it's not a myth that avoiding such foods will lessen your chances of getting diseases and probably allow you to live a more healthy and enjoyable life. So I mean, why the fuck not? Step 3, know your set. Set refers to your current mental state, which is largely influenced by where you are in your life right now. Your current struggles, your aspirations, hopes, and dreams, as well as your current genetic makeup. I say current because things like neurotransmitters do fluctuate as we age, and they can also just change on a day-to-day basis. If you know that you don't really have your shit together right now, or you're somebody who's prone to panic attacks, then you should probably start small. And, well, actually everyone should start small, but you should definitely, no matter how your set is, have a trip sitter with you, because psychedelics are extremely unpredictable and you never know what can happen. Not to mention that how you feel going into the experience greatly influences what type of trip you're going to have. Even how you felt that day or just, at that time in your life, it influences everything. And when you're on the influence of psychedelics, you are extremely suggestible. So you really have to be careful who you have around you, because that really can influence your set a great deal, which is kind of difficult if you are consuming ayahuasca in a retreat and you're surrounded by strangers. But I mean, I guess that's the whole thrill of it, right? So just a reminder, guys, if you are enjoying this content and you like what I've done to my nipples, then be sure you support the channel on Patreon. Visit Patreon right now. As little as $2 a month ensures the safety of psych substance, so I can continue making this awesome, super weird, or some people mix weird with cringy content. I'm gonna go have my girlfriend lick the paint off my nipples. Also, I'd like to point out that I am aware I look absolutely ridiculous in this outfit, and some of you may find this offensive. You could spin this and say that it's some kind of an underlying joke to showcase how white folks think they can just go to the Amazon and have these experiences just as the locals have them, when they don't actually have or hold the same beliefs as the locals hold, and the outcome of these experiences is largely based on the belief systems of the tribes that use them. Or you could look at it at face value and see a guy in his 30s who just wanted an excuse to play dress up. Step 4, choose your preferred setting. You may brew ayahuasca yourself from the comfort of your own home using legal plants in a place where it is legal, or you may choose to go to an ayahuasca retreat and put yourself in the care of a hopefully trained, knowledgeable, and compassionate shaman, which just so happens to be the way that human beings have been consuming ayahuasca sludge for thousands of years. Now, while there are many real positives to consuming ayahuasca traditionally in the jungle, there's also some very real negatives. One of the big ones being your setting is going to be totally unfamiliar to you unless you live in the jungle, and you're going to find yourself, as I said, surrounded by strangers, sitting in a little hut in the damp jungle, getting bit by mosquitoes as some strangers chant in this weird tongue, a language you might not even understand, and blow tobacco smoke into your face. That, just sober, can be a little overwhelming. Now imagine when you're under the influence of one of the most powerful psychedelics known to man. You just need to keep in mind that regardless of where you are or how traditional it is, the regular rules of consuming psychedelics still apply, and one of the big ones is making sure that you are in a comfortable, safe, and familiar setting. It's the one thing that you can control, one of the few things you can control, and it's very important that you feel comfortable before the experience, because as I said, how you feel can influence what type of trip you're gonna have. That all being said, there are a lot of people who don't mind taking ayahuasca out in the jungle. Step 5, choose a safe retreat. Obviously, this step only applies for those who are going to visit a retreat, but if this is you, then you need to pay close attention, because this is one of, if not the most important step in this entire video if you want to stay alive. For example, some centers have been known to add deadly plants to their brews. Things such as datura, also known as the devil's breath, which is a deliriant known for causing temporary bouts of psychosis and long-term brain damage in high doses, as well as potential death. Now, to be clear, datura was a regular ingredient used in ayahuasca brews. It still is in certain areas. However, those who are brewing it traditionally, they know just to add a tiny pinch of these plants, versus a lot of the people who are adding it these days are just adding way too much, largely due to the increase of fake shaman just trying to make a quick buck on some stupid gringos. Other common causes of death for tourists include the shaman just not properly screening them and letting them know how dangerous it is to consume ayahuasca while being on antidepressants, in which case the individual will experience, well, an actual fatal interaction during the ceremony. And last but not least, particularly if you are a young female, you have the risk of being raped and not limited to murdered. I mean, I could go on, but you guys get the point here. If you do some research, you'll find out that there's a whole lot of really great, amazing centers that you can go to for healing. I'm not trying to bad talk any of those. I'm simply trying to give fair warning to the fact that since ayahuasca has landed in pop culture, I mean, it's in fucking movies these days. Well, the people in South America who are very poor are definitely capitalizing on this, and not all of them have bad intentions. They just don't know what the hell they're doing, and they need money to feed their families, and you're just some dumb idiot. So please heed my warning and pay a little bit extra not to die. And of course, put the time in to learn. And if you're watching this video, then this definitely counts. So you can give yourself a pat on the back for caring about yourself. I love you guys. Step 6, choose your dose. This step mainly applies if you are brewing ayahuasca for yourself, because if you are visiting a retreat, the shaman will often choose the dose for you. But you're doing 30, right?
30? Okay, I'll do 30.
If brewing on your own, then dosage information is going to vary depending on the plants that you are using. However, it must be stated that it is ideal and recommended to always start small. You can always take more, but you can't take less. That is, unless you have this really terrible gag reflex and you just throw it all up right away. But if that's the case, then you're never going to give it time to absorb and you're never going to trip. So yeah, just start small. Step 7, drink the brew. I like to call it a brew because that makes it sound somewhat desirable, when in reality it's more bitter than any asshole that I've ever eaten. Granted, most assholes actually have a sweet taste, which implies something too taboo to even speak about regards to poop. If making your own brew, then it is recommended to boil the harmalas separately and ingest them 30 to 40 minutes prior to the DMT. This is for 2 reasons. 1, it allows your body time to absorb the harmala alkaloids, which will inhibit monoamine oxidase, and that will allow the DMT to become orally active. 2, what this does is allows you to use less harmalas and less of the DMT-containing plants, so you get to be frugal, resourceful, and also it's usually best with drugs to take less versus more if you can get away with it. It's safer. Not to mention you'll be incorporating science into the equation, which is always a good thing. Step 8, purge. Unfortunately, puking is part of the experience, which traditionally is seen as more than just upchucking. They like to view it as if the all-mother Awa, Mother Ayahuasca, is cleansing you of nasty evil spirits and bad energy, and it's starting you off at a place of, a more wholesome starting point. It's also supposed to get rid of nasty things in your body that are making you sick. Like you're actually throwing up toxins, which, yeah. I don't want to tread on anyone's beliefs here, so I'm just zip it. Now, regardless, it is ideal and important to hold the brew in for at least 20 to 30 minutes, ideally 1 hour, to allow it enough time to properly, absorb. Most people who do puke within less than 30 minutes, which happens to be most people who do puke, they still experience effects. And this is largely because when you are taking ayahuasca, say, in a shamanic retreat in the jungle, well, the shaman usually gives you a little bit more, anticipating that you're going to puke, meaning you're taking higher doses anyway. So if you don't puke, you are going to absorb more of those active chemicals and you are going to trip harder. As someone who didn't puke when they tried it, I can definitely attest to this one, man. Interesting enough, some studies suggest that only half of the amount of people who try ayahuasca do puke, so it really doesn't happen to everybody. Step 9, trip. Ayahuasca, as with virtually all psychedelics, have the potential to raise you to the beautiful singing voices of heaven, or drag you kicking and screaming through the pits of hell. And it will often give you the experience that you need, opposed to the experience that you want. However, what you do have the ability to control is how you choose to consciously react or respond to the experience. It's just as Joseph Campbell famously said, "The psychotic drowns in the same waters in which the mystic swims with delight." After you have committed to this experience via drinking the brew, it is important to understand that you have now made the conscious decision to get on the ride. And there are rules to being on rides, such as you gotta keep your hands and feet inside the carriage at all times. If you do something silly like standing up during a loop-de-loop, you most likely will plummet to your death and die. Yeah. And if you try to control the ride, you're most likely going to enter a state of panic and frustration because the ride only has two switches. It's either on or it's off. And when it's on, it is stuck to rails, baby. Sometimes you just gotta close your eyes, lift your hands up, and scream, "Ah!" But just remember at all times that the ride will end. And as long as you're not stupid, you will be alive at the end and hopefully in one piece. Step 10. Level up or level down. The choice is yours. The truth of the matter is, the amount of people who are actually helped by a substance such as ayahuasca are going to be in the minority. Why do I say this when there's so many people who after their experience are ranting and raving online and to all their friends that they all gotta try it? Because the healing happens after the experience ends, not during that honeymoon phase or the temporary high that you feel. If you are someone who magically believes that ayahuasca is just gonna come in and save you like a knight in shining armor and heal you from all of your problems, then you are largely misguided, my friend, and you may as well just never try it, because if you're not going to put the hours, days, weeks, months, years of work in after the experience to apply what you learned, which is not easy, it requires discipline, and it's its own journey of ups and downs, well, you're not really going to get much out of these experiences. You've got to see it as not a medicine, some magic pill that's going to heal you, as more so a stepping stone in your life that you can use to get you in the right direction. But once you're in that direction, it is totally on you to continue down that path. It can be very easy to stray and fall back into old habits, patterns. It's just how we're designed. It's part of the human condition. We're always going to look for the easiest, fastest, quickest way out, which is often the place which includes temporary pleasures and joys, things, instant gratification, all that nonsense, at the cost of our long-term pleasure, which is ultimately what is important. Simply put, ayahuasca is not going to heal you. It is going to potentially show you how to heal yourself, at which point it's up to you to do it. I should also point out that a lot of experience reports made by people online are made directly after the experience when they are feeling that euphoria and those good feelings. It is very rare to find a blog or someone making videos on it who continues to make videos for years to come. I mean, you can call it medicine all you want. It's still orally active DMT. It is still a psychedelic compound. I'm not saying this to discredit ayahuasca by any means. Oh no, on the contrary, our own feelings, how we interact with this world, the driving force for all of our decisions and wants and needs, those are all chemicals. Everything is drugs, baby. If you're human, then you're just constantly riding the different highs and lows. You gotta have both, right? Don't know how high the highest mountain is without seeing it's got the deepest valley. Now that being said, drugs can be incredible, they can be life-changing, they can heal you, but they also have pitfalls of their own, and they can be misused, and at which point they do become dangerous and they offer more harm than good. All of this being said, I still do believe in the healing power of psychedelics. The way I see it, having a super intense trip is the alarm going off that just wakes you up. And there's so many of us alive today who are in such a deep sleep. We're slumbering so hard. There's nothing that could wake us up. That is the only thing that works to cause so much discomfort that we finally go, whoa, I'm a physical being in a body, and this is actually kind of cool. I have so much power in these hands. I can create, I can think and make stuff. I have the potential to design my own reality with my thoughts. A lot of us don't realize that right off the bat. This society conditions us not to know those things. And even if you do learn those things, unless you're practically experiencing it or you're one of the lucky few who have seen the power that you have through making your reality come to fruition, well, it's really easy just to fall back into the norm, especially when you're going your day-to-day life in your 9 to 5 in your car. miserable just to continue on going on your 9 to 5 in your car, miserable just to continue making money to stay. It's a loopy-de-loop. One where no one's wearing a seatbelt and we all fall off and die. However, as I said, even with psychedelics, you can still go back to sleep. I've been there. I've taken them and fallen back to sleep after. And eventually it can get to the point where you can just hear that alarm going off and you'll just sleep through it. So yeah, let's not let that happen. All right, guys, let's love ourselves. Anyway, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I know this was a very big change of pace from my usual stuff. I just realized that I had written this script about a year or so ago, and I never finished it. And I was looking at it, and I was going, there's a lot of people who miss the old psych substance, so why not do kind of like a return to form, blast from the past, and make an old style video like this? Not just to please people, because I don't like making videos to please people. I like making what I want to make, and hopefully you guys enjoy it too, because that's how I want to live my life. You got to do what you enjoy, guys. And yeah, I'm really happy how this turned out. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave it a big thumbs up. I also want to point out that we are fully funded by all of your support on Patreon. If you do enjoy this content and you see value in what I'm doing, check out our Patreon page. Basically what Patreon is where you give me money and you get virtually nothing in return except maybe some previews of new videos. That's Patreon. I mean, you give me money, you get nothing back, but I get to keep making the videos. The point is, if no one supported us on Patreon, we wouldn't exist because YouTube does not favor this type of content. I make very little in ads, yada yada, you know the story. So if you want to keep Psych Substance alive and promote this shit, then check out our Patreon page and give me money for nothing in return but the videos. I have the tendency to ramble on and on. Anyway, again, if you like this video, leave it a big thumbs up. You can also comment, which supports the video too in a weird way. And, as always, remember to always test your substances. Test kit link in the video description. And, on that note, I will see you guys later.
I live my life making stupid video. Help people. What you do? You make mean comment. You hurt feelings.